I have some anxiety about discussing Sorceress, especially because some terms are going to crop up, like best class, or strongest, or melee sucks. Sorceress is very good, so good in fact that 90% of everyone, despite what they may say, will roll one to begin every ladder reset, because it's the only effective class to find gear, obviously. The crux of all Sorceress interest stems from Teleport, the ability which just grants complete disregard power to the player, where you just sit back, put one hand in your pants, and another hand on the mouse, and you just fly through maps. Since no one else can have a movement ability on par with Teleport, besides, you know, also getting Teleport because Enigma is balanced, there is no debate as to who the fastest clearer of the game is. Everything just kind of works out well for the Sorceress. You have incredible speed and efficiency, you have ridiculous power, perhaps even possessing the most overpowered nonsense ability in the entire game. Gear is more of a suggestion than a necessity. You probably have the hardest time clearing the game by yourself. Yeah, I know what I said. Yes, there's actually one drawback to the Sorceress, and that's actually completing everything by yourself. There becomes a severe reliance on gear for full clearing, or you either need a mercenary who possesses the big stick, usually the one that makes the game ridiculously broken and pierces immunity for you, but I'll get back to that. Or you'll need to run a dual element spec and deal with all the unfun you'll be having by doing far less than you could be if you just had that one big stick. I want to make 10 videos about why rune words have had a negative effect on the game, but, you know, they haven't stopped me from using them. So, in a lot of ways, Sorc is the perfect character for gearing up other ones. It might have the best AoE power, it might have the best regular boss killing power, while still retaining the highest benefit from Magic Find, the reason, you know, you tend to kill bosses. And it probably is the class with the best mobility overall. So, let's determine, are there any reasons why the Sorceress isn't the best class in Diablo 2. Okay, well, as always, to determine how crap something is, we're going to talk about the builds, I'm going to give you some gearing information or concepts to think through critically, and then finally we top it off with hardcore, because you get... Let's begin chatting about the skill trees that Sorceress has. All three are good, but there's a decided tier list I can give you. Fire is probably the weakest, ice is probably the middle, and lightning is probably the strongest. Most practical will always be frost, because it has great tools for AoE and survivability. Lightning is just unreasonably powerful, and finally, fire is good, you know, it's the hipster alternative to frost. But the fun fact is that no matter what build you want to make, you will have 4 to 5 hard points that you are going to have to just stick across all the trees, just instantly. Like, for example, you are instantly going to take Telekinesis, Static Field, and Teleport, because, you know, like, literally the minute instant you have any concept of playing this class, you romp over to this screen, hit Bink Bonk Dink, instantly rolling with the big boys. That's a build. That's already that's settled in. Telekinesis is a great little skill that allows you to pick up some items at a distance, or to open chests, doors, take some portals, you know, it goes on and on. Many things there is. Static Field is the skill I previously mentioned, which is essentially the most overpowered thing ever developed, where each cast reduces the life of your adversaries by a percentage. So, in normal, you can spam this on Bale to get him to 1 HP and then backhand him with whatever kind of blunt implement you'd like, and, you know, there you go. It gets semi-nerfed in Nightmare in Hell, not allowing you to reduce HP past a certain point, but still having the final boss's health before hitting him with an avalanche of X, Y, or Z makes Static Field too good to pass up. Finally, Teleport because yes. Moving over to the fire tree, you just always take Warmth because it's a really solid investment. It makes the class tolerable to play in a lot of ways, and when you have a bunch of plus skills, you really increase your effective speed since you don't have to chug nearly as many mana potions to keep casting spells. Finally, you should take Frost Armor since it's a good buff for yourself and gives you a slowing component for anything that melee hits you. Yeah, it's good, you know, put on your armor, buff yourself up, yada yada, here's some builds, enjoy. It's funny, we literally have no choice, we have to begin with Blizzard Sorceress because it's the premier build for Magic Find, which is again why we're playing Sorceress to begin with. Here's a statement you haven't heard in some time. Blizzard is great! It's an amazing skill that gives you powerhouse damage, AoE slowing capability, and it's even pretty good at spamming, allowing for little time between casts. This build is usually synonymous with magic finding, but it's, you know, it's super competent at clearing the game as well. You run into the drawback of Sorc pretty heavily with this build, however, where you cannot touch cold immune monsters. Cold immune monsters have a huge immunity value, making it hard to break through even with the level 30 skill that reduces your enemy's cold resistance. Even with Infinity, you have trouble getting through anything. That's why this is typically relegated to the Ancient Tunnels Simulator category, where you just scour through thousands and thousands of unique monsters in order to find items to play the class that you actually want to play, because no one wants to play Sorceress, of course. But since we're off to a start with Magic Find, let's talk about a hipster alternative before we chat about more popular builds. Fireball Sorc packs a lot of punch, but it runs into the same immunity problems, even more than cold damage, so for this reason it's a pretty fringe build, since it doesn't even do the most DPS amongst everything we're going to talk about. But you know what it is good for? Magic finding a different place, because if you spend all your time item hunting, a change of scenery is a blessed concept. Fireball and the skills that go along with it are super simple. Get all the synergies, cast spells, spell, zoom around with teleport. It probably is the most direct, like, bam, boom impact the Sorceress has. So for that, it is fun. If you want to clear the game with unparalleled strength, I fully recommend instead the... Lightning is the strongest spell the Sorceress has. It can get up to a ridiculous amount of damage, and for that reason, Blizzard made the cast rate of lightning and chain lightning far slower to compensate for their destructive power. But even with that nerf, you can put out so much damage so quickly, and since lightning tunnels a hole through the asses of everything in its path, just blast through crowds to level them. Also, Infinity is actually perfect for cutting through lightning immunity, which invalidates any and all difficulty you might face with this class. The Big Stick. A bug, which will assuredly be fixed in Diablo 2 Resurrected and was banned on BNet anyway, is swap casting. What this allowed you to do is cast a spell while casting a different one. What this means essentially is that you swap your weapons while simultaneously casting a different spell. You can imprint the spell on a different spell. That makes sense, right? Thanks for coming. I'm out of here. Here's the lowdown. If you want to figure out how to do this, I recommend one of the 20-ish minute guides that people have put out. I'm assuming you're not here because I'm the major tutorial man. I'm more interested in being your gateway to idiot antics. But if you swap cast correctly, you can make lightning no longer have a slower cast rate. So you'll have Ice Bolt appearing to come out, but it's actually a drove of lightning bolts shooting out, which means that you put an unreasonable amount of hurt on anything. This is ridiculously too strong, hence the ban, hence the bug, etc. On and on it goes. Okay, but you actually want to kill the Ancients, and then you want to clear Bale Waves before you have endgame runes and gear? Well, you know, it's kind of interesting. I don't know who really wants to do that, but here's a spec that is good at completing the game. It's called using the power of 2 trees. Take 2 skills and half invest in both of them. Wowza! Popular ones involve Meteor and Frozen Orb, but hell, pick whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Sorc is really strong with even a few +1 to all skills, and with dual element builds, you can clean up the game pretty nicely. Play around, think about what you like, relish in the fact that you'll be doing subpar damage, and fantasize about the day you'll have like 800 bear runes to play around with. Runes have ruined the game. Okay, one more build, and it's one of my personal favorites. I think it's really fun. You might give it a try. Give it a spin sometime. The Enchantress is a Sorc melee build that utilizes a lot more runes, so you know, break out your 800 burrows, get the wallet out. Using 2 dream rune words, you obtain a super high Holy Shock aura, in conjunction with an infinity on your merc, and then a super high lightning mastery investment to give you major lightning damage bonuses. You become the human bug zapper, so just stand there and admire as you pulse lots of enemies for, you know, some considerable damage. Not bad. But this is where you as the Sorc come into play. With a Passion Phase Blade to give yourself Zeal and Berserk, you can cast a high level enchant on yourself. Enchant adds a whole heaping barbecue pit to your weapon, making you hit for major fire damage. With Zeal, the firepower, the lightning, and everything in between, you now randomly do like 1 million damage. Seriously, the melee damage is surprisingly good to the point where you can just hit Bale's balls 5 times and he'll just die. This build is nothing more than novelty, but it's so powerful that it can absolutely solo the game. So if you want a little change of pace, I recommend the little old Enchantress. You might question what you slap on the old ass, but in gear time. A fun little fact about Sorceress is that gear is not fully necessary. You can test this yourself by just trying to get your corpse back if you ever die. You will find that Blizzard still does pretty good damage, you kind of can move with teleport, you know, everything kind of works out. In this way, Sorc doesn't need much. You could run vaguely good budget, found at the Dollar Tree-esque type gear, and get away with it. A few plus skills, some cast rates, some resistances. That's why this class is a sincere contender for being the best one, honestly. It hardly costs you anything while potentially giving you everything you ever need. Oh, unless you want to actually min-max, in which case the class costs an arm, a leg, and, you know, actually just give me both arms instead. You want some hardcore stuff, you know, including rare uniques, good-ass rune words for yourself, amazing charms, and you know, this expense for min-max is similar across all the classes, and Sorc isn't actually the worst by far. It's just that your class torch is usually really expensive, people love the specific uniques like Griffin's Eye Diadem or Death's Fathom. 5/5 facets are really good and you want them. Circlets that have the benefits you won't find on other items are super good, crafted amulets that are better than anything else. I wish you good luck. This list is long as balls. If you really want your best in slot, it's a tall order. But remember, you don't need shit all to do good enough, so... Speaking of having nothing to your name, here's Hardcore. Hardcore Sorc is in the middle of the road, I'd say. It's easy when it wants to be, but it can flip on you instantly. Firstly, you are very squishy. You will die to things, you know. Gloams. Stay so far away from Gloams, and, you know, Stygian dolls, and bow things, and Mephisto. Actually, stay away from literally everything. So defense sucks, but your firepower is where you don't have to worry, of course, until things are immune to you, and now you have to navigate a battlefield where you have to leave some of things in your way since you can't kill them. The expectation is to have your merc be strong enough to pick up your slack. This dance is strange. To complete hell difficulty, stay far away. Make sure to take the hand out of the pants when playing in hardcore and hold it over your Alt-4 keybind. You're going to want a panic solution to get out if the going gets rough. Otherwise, yeah, it's fine. Alright, judgment time again. The question being, of course, is Sorceress the best class in Diablo 2? Well... Let's define what best means. Best means you have more power than every other class, and you can accomplish more things with your tools. You have the ability to clear content with ease, the process to get better is easier, and finally you have more survivability and more variety. Sorceress has spells that do very consistent things, namely blow things up. But, single target is not really the name of the game. You are an AoE class. She is not the best at endgame content. All two things, but, anyway. She has some good spells, but she's made of toilet paper and has to finagle ways of clearing everything solo. If you asked me, despite having put more time on Sorc than any other class and loving how much power it puts into your hands, Sorc is not the best class in Diablo 2. But put out of your mind the obvious answer. We're narrowing it down. I get that there's a big elephant, but, I want to make a little argument for somebody else.
Thanks.